Commander Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming across. Sentinel Prime, the orbital defense station, had been his home for 3 years. Floating silently above Earth like a metal guardian, he dropped his cup and ran to the command center where dozens of technicians stared at their screens with wide eyes. The coffee splattered on the floor, but nobody cared about that anymore. "What do we have?" Jake asked as he slid into his command chair. Lieutenant Sarah Williams turned from her console with a pale face. "Sir, we have massive contacts at the edge of the solar system. They just appeared out of nowhere like they dropped out of some kind of space fold." Jake felt his stomach drop as he looked at the main display. 12 enormous ships hung in space near Pluto, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built down on Earth. Dr. Lisa Carter was in her lab when her computer started flashing red warnings. She was the planet's best expert on alien life, even though she had never actually met any aliens. Now it looked like that was about to change in a very big way. She grabbed her phone and called General Frank Stone at Pentagon. "Frank, are you seeing this?" she asked. "I'm seeing it, but I don't believe it," the general replied. "Get to the White House right now. We need you there in 30 minutes. The alien fleet stayed perfectly still for 6 hours. They just sat there in space like they were waiting for something. During those 6 hours, every military base on Earth went to full alert. Pilots ran to their fighters, soldiers loaded their weapons, and scientists tried to figure out what humanity was dealing with. Captain Amy Rodriguez worked frantically in the intelligence center, trying to decode the strange signals coming from the alien ships. Admiral Zentar stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the small blue planet on his view screen. His species had conquered 200 worlds using the same simple plan: show up with overwhelming force, give the locals time to panic, then demand surrender. It worked every single time because most species were smart enough to know when they were beaten. This little world would be no different from all the others. "Begin the standard broadcast," Centaur ordered his communications officer. The message went out in 12 different languages that the Zephyrians had learned from intercepted Earth transmissions. "People of the third planet, you are now subjects of the Zephyrian Empire. You have 72 hours to surrender your military forces and prepare for integration into our civilization. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your world." Jake Morrison received the message along with every other military commander on Earth. He read it 3 times before he believed what he was seeing. "They want us to surrender," he said to Sarah Williams. "In 3 days, they want our entire planet to just give up without a fight." Sarah shook her head in amazement. "They obviously don't know much about humans." President Helen Grant called an emergency meeting in the White House Situation Room. General Frank Stone was there along with Dr. Lisa Carter and a dozen other experts. "Options," the president said simply. "We can try to negotiate," Dr. Carter suggested. "Maybe they're reasonable." General Stone laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Ma'am, reasonable species don't show up with warships and demand surrender. These aliens think we're going to roll over like scared puppies." What the Zephyrians didn't know was that Earth had been preparing for this day for 40 years. Ever since the first radio telescopes detected artificial signals from deep space, human governments had been quietly working together. They built secret weapons, trained special forces, and developed technology that most people didn't even know existed. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive world that had just learned to fly in space. They were very wrong about that. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hayes worked in a bunker deep under Colorado, where he monitored alien communications. His team had been intercepting Zephyrian transmissions for months, slowly learning their language and studying their tactics. "Sir," his assistant called out, "we're getting chatter from their fleet. They're talking about how easy this conquest is going to be." Ben smiled grimly as he listened to the translations. "They think we're going to surrender without firing a shot." Dr. Elena Vasquez was already working on humanity's response in her laboratory beneath Area 51, 6 months ago. Earth forces had secretly captured a Zephyrian scout ship that got too close to Jupiter. The aliens probably thought it was destroyed in an accident, but Elena had been taking it apart piece by piece. She understood their shield technology, their weapons, and most importantly, their weaknesses. The alien ultimatum played on every television and radio station across the globe. People gathered in the streets, in their homes, and in churches to watch the impossible message. Some panicked and some cried, but most just got angry. Humans had never been good at accepting bullies, whether they came from the next town or the next galaxy. The more the message played, the angrier people became. Colonel Mike Torres coordinated the global response from his command center in Geneva. Representatives from every nation called in to confirm their readiness. The Russians had their space weapons online, the Chinese had their kinetic platforms ready, and the Americans had activated systems that officially didn't exist. All stations report ready, Torres announced to the world leaders listening on the secure channel. Captain Nicole Brooks commanded a stealth ship that was currently hiding behind an asteroid near Mars. Her vessel was one of 20 that had been secretly built over the past decade. The aliens had no idea these ships existed because they were designed to be completely invisible to Zephyrian sensors. "Orders, Captain," her weapons officer asked. "We wait," Nicole replied. "Let them think. They caught us sleeping." As the first day of the ultimatum ended, Admiral Zentar felt very satisfied with himself. The planet below was showing all the signs of panic that he expected. Their communications were full of fear and confusion. Some of their leaders were already talking about surrender terms. This would be another easy victory for the Zephyrian Empire, just like all the others, but Jake Morrison was not panicking as he looked out at the stars from Sentinel Prime. He was thinking about his daughter, who lived in Denver, and his brother, who served on a submarine in the Pacific Ocean. He was thinking about every human being who had ever lived and died on the beautiful blue planet below. The aliens had made their biggest mistake when they threatened Earth, because they had no idea what humans were capable of when their families were in danger. The 72-hour countdown had begun, but the Zephyrians were counting down to something very different than what they expected. Dr. Elena Vasquez had not slept in 36 hours. Her underground laboratory buzzed with activity as she worked on the most important project in human history. The captured Zephyrian scout ship lay in pieces around her, its alien metal gleaming under the bright work lights. "Hand me that power coupling," she called to her assistant, Dr. Marcus Webb. They were so close to cracking the alien shield technology that she could taste victory on the surface above. The world appeared to be falling apart. News channels showed riots in major cities, government officials making desperate speeches, and millions of people fleeing to underground bunkers. But Colonel Mike Torres knew the truth as he watched the coordinated chaos from his command center. Every riot was carefully planned, every panic speech was scripted, and every fleeing civilian was actually a soldier moving to their battle position. President Helen Grant stood before the cameras in the Oval Office, her face showing exactly the right amount of fear and uncertainty. "My fellow Americans and citizens of the world, we face an impossible choice. These beings from beyond our solar system possess technology far beyond our own. We must consider their demands carefully if we hope to save our species." But the president's left hand made small gestures that only certain viewers would understand, giving the real orders to military commanders around the globe. "Admiral," Zentar watched the human broadcasts with growing satisfaction. The primitive species was reacting exactly as every other conquered world had reacted. Their leaders showed weakness, their people showed panic, and their military forces remained hidden like frightened children. "How long before they formally surrender?" he asked his intelligence officer. "Based on previous conquests, sir, I estimate 18 more hours. They always break on the second day." The alien admiral had no way of knowing that Dr. Sam Johnson was at that very moment completing the final calibrations on Earth's defensive grid. Hidden installations across the planet hummed to life, powered by fusion reactors that the aliens had no idea existed. The energy signatures were carefully masked to look like industrial facilities and power plants. "Grid is online," Sam reported to the command network. "All stations show green across the board." Captain Nicole Brooks drifted silently behind her asteroid, watching the alien fleet through passive sensors. Her stealth ship carried weapons that had never been tested in actual combat, but the simulations looked very promising. "Contact on the quantum channel," her communications officer whispered. "Command is asking for status reports from all ghost units." Nicole smiled as she realized that 19 other invisible ships were also checking in. The aliens thought they were dealing with one small planet, but they were actually surrounded by humanity's hidden fleet. In Washington, D.C., General Frank Stone met with his staff in a bunker that was supposed to be a subway maintenance facility. Maps covered the walls showing alien ship positions, human asset locations, and projected battle scenarios. Intelligence reports they're planning to send a demonstration force tomorrow morning, he told his officers. They want to show us how powerful they are by destroying a few military targets. Let them come. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hayes intercepted another alien transmission from his monitoring post. His team had become very good at understanding Zephyrian communications, and what they heard made them angry. "Sir," his translator called out, "they're discussing which human cities to destroy first. They want to pick targets that will cause maximum terror." Ben's jaw tightened as he listened to the cold calculations. These aliens talked about killing millions of people like they were discussing the weather. Dr. Lisa Carter worked frantically to establish some kind of diplomatic contact with the alien fleet. She had tried every communication protocol she could think of, but the Zephyrians only responded with the same surrender demand. "They won't even talk to us," she told President Grant during a secure video call. "It's like they've done this so many times that they don't see any point in conversation." The president nodded grimly. "Then we'll have to speak in a language they understand." The second day of the ultimatum brought more apparent chaos to Earth's surface. Television news showed empty government buildings, abandoned military bases, and leaders who seemed to have disappeared completely. Social media filled with messages of despair and surrender. Foreign governments issued statements accepting the inevitable conquest. Everything looked exactly like the collapse that Admiral Zentar expected to see. But beneath the surface, humanity's greatest strength was being deployed. The same species that had fought wars across every continent and ocean was now working together with perfect coordination. Russian submarines surfaced near the Arctic carrying weapons that violated every treaty ever signed. Chinese space stations that were supposed to be scientific research platforms opened hidden weapon bays. European underground facilities that officially didn't exist powered up systems that could crack a moon in half. Captain Amy Rodriguez finally broke the Zephyrian military codes from her intelligence center. "I'm in," she announced to her team. I can see their entire battle plan. What she found made her blood run cold. The aliens weren't planning to just conquer Earth. They were planning to use it as a testing ground for new weapons. Human cities would become target practice for experimental destruction devices. "Get this to command immediately," she ordered. Dr. Elena Vasquez made her breakthrough at 3 in the morning of the second day. The alien shield technology wasn't actually that complex once you understood the principles behind it. "It's like they never expected anyone to fight back," she told Dr. Marcus Webb as they watched the test results. "Their shields are designed to stop primitive weapons, not the stuff we've been building." She immediately transmitted the technical data to every human military installation on and off Earth. Admiral Zentar received reports that several of his scout ships had detected unusual energy readings from the planet below. His science officer suggested that the humans might be preparing some kind of resistance. "Impossible," the admiral replied. "They don't have the technology or the courage to fight us. These readings are probably just their power systems failing as their civilization collapses." Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Sentinel Prime and looked down at Earth from space. His home planet looked so peaceful and beautiful that it was hard to believe a war was about to start. But he could see the tiny lights of cities, where millions of people were preparing to fight for their survival. "All stations report ready," Sarah Williams announced from the command center. "The president is asking for final confirmation from all defense platforms." As the second day of the ultimatum ended, both sides prepared for what they thought would happen next. Admiral Zentar planned a quick demonstration of power followed by immediate surrender. The aliens had used this strategy successfully on 200 other worlds, and they saw no reason why Earth would be different. They sent their orders for the morning attack, confident that one show of force would end all human resistance, but humanity had spent the last 48 hours preparing the most sophisticated military trap in galactic history. Every fake panic, every staged retreat, and every apparent collapse had been designed to lure the aliens into exactly the position that human strategists wanted them in. The Zephyrians thought they were hunters stalking helpless prey, but they were actually walking into the lair of the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever produced. The countdown continued, but now both sides were counting toward something completely different than what the aliens expected. The 72-hour deadline expired at exactly noon. Greenwich Mean Time, Admiral. Zentar stood on his bridge watching the blue planet that had refused to surrender like every other world should have done. "Begin orbital bombardment," he ordered his weapons officer. "Target their major military installations first. We want them to see their defenses crumble before they watch their cities burn." 4 Zephyrian battleships moved toward Earth while the rest of the alien fleet remained at a safe distance. This was standard procedure that had worked perfectly on 200 other worlds. Show overwhelming force, destroy a few important targets, then accept the immediate surrender that always followed. The aliens expected to be finished with Earth before dinnertime. Major Chris Thompson waited in the command center of Luna Base, humanity's secret military installation hidden on the dark side of the moon. His railgun arrays had been disguised as mining equipment for the past 15 years, but now they showed their true purpose as their barrels swung toward the approaching alien ships. Target acquired, his gunner reported. 4 bogies approaching from Sector 7. Commander Rachel Green sat in her asteroid belt station that the aliens thought was just another space rock. The mining facility had been carefully hollowed out and filled with kinetic weapons that could accelerate chunks of metal to incredible speeds. "All asteroid stations report ready," she announced on the secure channel. "We have clear shots on the entire alien formation." The first Zephyrian battleship entered Earth's orbital space and powered up its plasma cannons. The alien crew felt confident and relaxed as they prepared to demonstrate their superior technology to another primitive species. They had done this so many times before that it felt like routine maintenance. The weapons officer locked onto the largest human military base he could find and prepared to fire. That was when Major Chris Thompson gave the order that changed galactic history forever. "All Luna stations fire." 12 rail gun arrays opened. Fire simultaneously, sending streams of projectiles at the alien ships at 20% of light speed. The aliens' shields absorbed the first impacts easily, but they had never faced sustained bombardment from weapons this powerful. Their defensive systems began to strain under the constant hammering. "What are those readings?" Admiral Zentar demanded, as his sensors detected the railgun attacks. His science officer studied the data with growing alarm. "Sir, the projectiles are moving much faster than primitive kinetic weapons should be able to achieve. Their power output is far beyond what we detected during our reconnaissance." Commander Rachel Green watched her tactical display as the alien shields began to weaken under the Luna bombardment. "All asteroid stations, fire everything we have." The space around Earth lit up with streaks of accelerated metal as dozens of hidden installations revealed themselves. The aliens suddenly found themselves under attack from directions they hadn't even known were occupied. The Zephyrian ships tried to return fire, but their weapons were designed for ship-to-ship combat, not for hitting small targets scattered across an entire solar system. Their plasma beams missed the hidden human installations while the constant kinetic bombardment continued to weaken their shields. "Shields down to 60% and falling," the alien weapons officer reported with panic in his voice. "Sergeant Kevin Martinez led the first boarding party in human history to attack an alien starship. His assault shuttle had been built using captured Zephyrian technology, so it looked exactly like one of their own transport craft. The alien ship's automated systems let him dock without question, assuming he was bringing reinforcements. Inside, Kevin reported as his team moved through the alien corridors. "These guys have no idea we're here." Captain Tony Williams piloted the experimental fighter that Dr. Elena Vasquez had built using reverse-engineered alien technology. His ship could phase through Zephyrian shields using their own quantum frequency, making him effectively invisible to their defenses. "This is Ghost 1, he reported as he flew directly through the alien flagship's protective barrier. "I'm inside their shield perimeter and they can't even see me." The battle that Admiral Zentar had expected to last 15 minutes stretched into its second hour as humanity revealed layer after layer of hidden defenses. Every time the aliens thought they understood what they were facing, another impossible weapon system opened fire from a new location. Their shields failed on the first battleship just as Sergeant Kevin Martinez's boarding party reached the bridge. Dr. Patricia Lee coordinated the entire human response from her quantum communication center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Her network allowed instant communication across the entire solar system without any delay, something that gave human forces a massive tactical advantage. "All units, the first alien ship is down. Focus fire on Target 2. The second Zephyrian battleship tried to retreat when its captain saw the first ship surrender to human boarding parties. But Commander Rachel Green's asteroid stations had positioned themselves to block every escape route. "No one leaves," she announced as her kinetic weapons pounded the alien ship's engines. "They wanted to visit Earth, so they're going to stay for the whole party?" Admiral Zentar watched in growing horror as his demonstration force was systematically destroyed by weapons that shouldn't exist. The primitive species he had come to conquer was fighting back with technology that rivaled his own fleet's capabilities. "How is this possible?" he demanded from his bridge crew. But no one had any answers. Captain Amy Rodriguez intercepted the desperate alien communications as the Zephyrian ships tried to call for reinforcements. "They're asking their fleet for immediate support," she reported to command. "The Admiral is telling his ships that humans are more dangerous than anything they've encountered before." The third alien battleship lost its shields just as Captain Tony Williams completed his attack run from inside their defensive perimeter. His quantum torpedoes tore through the ship's hull like it was made of paper, proving that human weapons could be just as deadly as anything the aliens brought to the fight. "Target 3 is disabled," he reported. Moving to engage Target 4. Sergeant Kevin Martinez found himself face-to-face with a Zephyrian bridge crew that had never seen combat like this before. The aliens had always been the predators in every battle they fought, but now they were trapped on their own ship with human soldiers who seemed to appear from nowhere. "Surrender your vessel," Kevin ordered in perfect Zephyrian, shocking the aliens who had no idea humans could speak their language. The fourth and final battleship of the demonstration force tried desperately to reach the safety of the main alien fleet, but Major Chris Thompson's railguns tracked its movement across space. "Target 4 attempting to flee," he reported. "Permission to finish them off." The response came immediately from Dr. Patricia Lee. "Granted. Show them what happens when you threaten our home?" As the sun set on the first day of actual combat, Admiral Zentar stared at his tactical display in complete disbelief. His demonstration force had been completely destroyed by a species he had thought was helpless. 4 of his best battleships were either captured or debris, and the humans were broadcasting his own tactical frequencies back at him in perfect Zephyr Eon. The aliens who had conquered 200 worlds without breaking a sweat had just learned that Earth was different from every other planet they had ever attacked. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this exact moment, and they were ready to show the galaxy what happened when someone threatened their families. The hunters had just discovered that they were actually the prey, and the most dangerous predators in the galaxy were just getting started. Admiral Zentar paced his bridge like a caged animal while his remaining ships held position at the edge of the solar system. The destruction of his demonstration force had shaken him more than any battle in his long military career. "Send the distress call," he ordered his communications officer. "Tell High Command we need the entire 4th Fleet here immediately." But Commander Bobby Clark was already listening to every word the alien said from his deep space monitoring station. His sensor network had been tracking Zephyrian fleet movements for months, and he knew exactly where their reinforcements were located. "Admiral," he reported to Jake Morrison on Sentinel Prime, "the alien backup force is 3 days away at maximum speed. We have them isolated." The hours after the first battle brought a strange quiet to the solar system. Both sides regrouped and tried to understand what had just happened. For humanity, it was proof that their decades of preparation had worked. For the Zephyrians, it was the first time in their species' history that they had encountered serious resistance from what they considered a primitive world. Captain Jennifer Adams led her boarding team through the captured alien command ship, studying every piece of technology they could find. The Zephyrian bridge was filled with computers and displays that looked almost familiar, as if the aliens used the same basic principles as human technology, but had developed them in different directions. "Get me access to their communication system," she told her technical specialist. Dr. Carlos Rivera worked frantically to decode the captured alien databases while the boarding team secured more ships. What he found made his blood run cold. The Zephyrians had detailed files on over 200 conquered worlds, complete with population counts before and after occupation. "They don't just conquer planets," he reported to command. "They study them, strip away everything useful, then leave the survivors to rebuild so they can harvest them again later." Admiral Zentar realized that his standard tactics were useless against these humans. Every other species had surrendered after seeing their defenses destroyed, but Earth's military seemed to get stronger after each battle. "What do we know about their psychology?" he asked his intelligence officer. "Nothing, sir. We assumed they would behave like every other species we've encountered." Lieutenant Colonel Steve Johnson sat in his Psychological Warfare Center and prepared humanity's response to the alien fleet. His team had spent years studying Zephyrian communications and culture, and they understood something that the aliens had never considered. "Begin broadcast on all their frequencies," he ordered. "It's time to introduce ourselves properly." The message that went out to the Zephyrian fleet was unlike anything they had ever received from a conquered world. Steve Johnson spoke in perfect Zephyrian, his voice calm and confident as he addressed Admiral Zentar directly. "Admiral, you have made a serious mistake. You assumed that Earth would surrender like the other worlds you have destroyed. You were wrong. We know about the 217 planets you have conquered," Steve continued, reading from the data that Dr. Carlos Rivera had extracted from the captured ships. "We know about the billions of people you have killed or enslaved. We know about your plans to strip our world of resources and leave our children to starve. You chose the wrong planet to threaten." Admiral Zentar listened to the broadcast with growing dread. Not only did the humans speak his language perfectly, but they had somehow accessed classified Zephyrian military records. "How do they know these things?" he demanded from his staff, but no one had answers. The primitive species was revealing knowledge that should have been impossible for them to obtain. Colonel Maria Santos coordinated with human colonies that the aliens had no idea existed. While the Zephyrians had been watching Earth, humanity had been spreading quietly across nearby star systems for generations. "Kepler station reports ready," she announced to the command network. "Alpha Centauri base is moving to intercept position. The aliens are surrounded and they don't even know it." Captain Danny Foster received his orders while his ship drifted invisibly near the alien fleet. His mission was to capture Admiral Zentar alive, not because humanity wanted to negotiate, but because they needed the alien commander to send a message to his superiors. "Ghost Team Alpha is in position," he reported. "We can board the flagship whenever you give the word." The psychological impact of Steve Johnson's broadcast rippled through the Zephyrian fleet like a virus. Alien crew members who had never experienced fear began to understand that they were not the predators in this situation. "Sir," a junior officer reported to Admiral Zentar, "morale is dropping across all ships. The crews are asking why we didn't know more about this species before we attacked them." Dr. Michelle Taylor worked to crack the alien command codes while human forces moved into final position around the Zephyrian fleet. Every captured ship provided more intelligence about alien weaknesses and tactical procedures. "I'm into their main computer system," she reported. "I can access their entire communication network from here." Admiral Zentar made his final desperate decision when he realized that his fleet was trapped in a solar system full of enemies he couldn't see or understand. "Prepare to destroy the planet," he ordered his weapons crews. "If we cannot conquer it, we will make sure no one else can have it either." This was the last resort that the Zephyrian Empire used when faced with unexpected resistance, but Captain Danny Foster was already aboard the alien flagship when the order was given. His team had been moving through the ship's corridors using captured Zephyrian equipment and uniforms. "We're at the bridge," he whispered into his radio. "Ready to take the Admiral on your command." Steve Johnson's second broadcast went out just as Admiral Zentar was about to give the order to destroy Earth. "Admiral, you are thinking about murdering an entire planet because you cannot accept defeat. This is exactly why your empire ends today. You have shown us what kind of species we are dealing with, and we will make sure the galaxy knows what the Zephyrian Empire really represents." The boarding action happened so fast that most of the alien bridge crew didn't understand what was occurring until it was over. Captain Danny Foster and his team moved like ghosts through the bridge, stunning alien officers with captured weapons and securing the command center. "Package secured," Danny reported as Admiral. Zentar found himself looking down the barrel of a human weapon. Dr. Michelle Taylor used the captured command codes to broadcast across the entire Zephyrian communication network. Her message went out to every alien ship and every Zephyrian colony across their empire. "This is Earth calling all Zephyrian forces. Your Admiral has been captured and your attack fleet has been defeated. Any species that threatens our world will face the same consequences." The remaining alien ships found themselves surrounded by human forces that seemed to appear from empty space. Captain Nicole Brooks and her stealth fleet dropped their camouflage and revealed themselves around the Zephyrian formation. "This is the Human Defense Force," she announced on open channels. "You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately or share the fate of your demonstration fleet." Admiral Zentar sat in human custody and tried to understand how his perfect conquest had turned into complete disaster. The species he had thought was helpless had not only defeated his forces, but had been planning for this battle longer than he had been alive. "How long have you been preparing for us?" he asked Captain Danny Foster. Danny smiled grimly as he looked at the alien commander. "Since before you were born, Admiral. Humans don't like bullies, and we've had plenty of time to get ready for you." As the second day of actual combat ended, the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted completely. The Zephyrian Empire that had conquered hundreds of worlds now faced a species that refused to be conquered and had the technology to back up their defiance. Earth had revealed itself as something that no alien civilization had ever encountered before, a world that fought back with intelligence, preparation, and a determination that terrified their would-be conquerors. Admiral Zentar sat in the detention cell aboard Sentinel Prime and stared at the walls that held him prisoner. 3 days had passed since his capture, and he still could not believe that his mighty fleet had been defeated by a species that his empire had considered primitive. Captain Danny Foster entered the cell carrying a tablet computer filled with information that would change everything. "Your reinforcement fleet arrived this morning," Danny told the alien commander. 400 ships, just like you requested. They're currently floating dead in space near Jupiter after our welcome party met them. Zentar's face went pale as he realized that humanity had been ready for the backup fleet too. "How many ships do you have?" he whispered. Danny smiled coldly. "Enough." General Alice Morgan coordinated the systematic dismantling of the second Zephyrian fleet from her command center on Earth. The alien reinforcements had walked into the same trap as the first group, but this time humanity had been even more prepared. "All alien vessels secured," she reported to President Helen Grant. "We have over 400 enemy ships in custody and approximately 50,000 prisoners." Dr. Michelle Taylor worked with the captured alien databases to understand the full scope of the Zephyrian Empire. What she found was both horrifying and useful. They have complete records of every species they've conquered, she told the assembled human leadership. Star maps, technology assessments, cultural studies, everything. We now know more about this part of the galaxy than anyone except the Zephyrians themselves. The interrogation of captured alien officers revealed something that shocked even the most prepared human commanders. Colonel Maria Santos read the reports with growing amazement. Sir, they're not the only predator species out there. The galaxy is full of empires just like theirs, all competing to see who can conquer the most worlds. Earth was just next on a very long list of targets. Admiral Zentar was brought before a human tribunal that included representatives from every nation on Earth. He expected torture or execution, but instead found himself facing something far more terrifying. Humans who understood exactly what his empire represented and had decided to do something about it. You have a choice, President Helen Grant told him. Help us contact the peaceful species in this galaxy, or watch us destroy every Zephyrian ship and colony we can find. The alien admiral realized that he was not dealing with another victim species that would eventually be conquered or destroyed. These humans had plans that went far beyond simply defending their own world. What do you want from me? He asked, though he already suspected the answer. General Frank Stone leaned forward across the table. We want a complete list of every peaceful civilization that your empire has been threatening. We're going to make them an offer they can't refuse. Dr. Carlos Rivera established contact with the first liberated world within a week of Admiral Zentar's cooperation. The Kellerian species had been living under Zephyrian occupation for 30 years, providing resources and technology while their population slowly declined. This is Earth calling Kellerian Prime, he broadcast in their native language. Your oppressors are gone. Would you like our help rebuilding your defenses? The response from the Kellerians was immediate and emotional. Their leaders wept openly, as they realized that someone had actually defeated the Zephyrian Empire and was offering help instead of conquest. Please, they replied, we have been waiting so long for someone to care about our survival. How can we ever repay you? Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hayes coordinated the liberation of 12 more worlds in the following month. Each conquered species reacted the same way when they learned that Earth had not only defeated their oppressors but was actively protecting them from other predator empires. The humans want nothing from us except friendship, reported the leader of the Arcturus colony. They gave us weapons, technology, and teachers, then left us alone to rebuild our civilization. Captain Nicole Brooks commanded the first human fleet to patrol beyond the solar system, her ships filled with volunteers from every branch of Earth's military. Their mission was simple: find worlds under attack and eliminate the attackers. Contact on long-range sensors, her tactical officer reported. Unknown vessels attacking a civilian colony in the Vega system. Nicole's response was immediate. Set course for Vega maximum speed. The hegemony of Krull had been terrorizing the outer RIM territories for centuries when they encountered their first human patrol fleet. Their massive warships had never met serious resistance from any species. So they approached Captain Nicole's small task force with complete confidence. That confidence lasted exactly 17 minutes, which was how long it took the humans to disable their entire fleet without destroying a single alien ship. General Alice Morgan established the Galactic Defense Council 6 months after the first Zephyrian attack on Earth. Representatives from 43 liberated species gathered on Luna Base to coordinate their mutual protection. We are not here to build an empire, she told the assembled delegates. We are here to make sure that no world faces extinction alone ever again. Dr. Lisa Carter finally got her chance for real diplomatic contact with alien species, but not in the way she had originally imagined. Instead of meeting conquerors, she was helping former victims rebuild their civilizations and learn to defend themselves. The humans have given us more than weapons and technology, reported the Andromedan ambassador. They have given us hope that peace is possible in a galaxy full of predators. The transformation of galactic politics happened faster than anyone had expected. Admiral Zentar, now serving as humanity's advisor on alien military tactics, watched the changes with a mixture of fear and admiration. "In 6 months, you have done what my empire could not accomplish in 6 centuries," he told Jake Morrison during one of their regular meetings. "You have brought order to chaos without becoming the very thing you fought against." Commander Jake Morrison had been promoted to admiral and now commanded humanity's growing defense fleet from his flagship Terra Nova. His mission was to respond to distress calls from anywhere in known space, bringing Earth's protection to species that had never heard of humans before. Another call from the Rigel sector, his communications officer reported. Pirates are attacking a refugee convoy. Jake's response had become routine. Set course for Rigel, time to introduce some pirates to human hospitality. The final confrontation came when the Zephyrian High Command sent their ultimate weapon to reclaim their lost empire. The Destroyer of Worlds was a ship the size of a small moon, armed with weapons that could crack planets in half. It arrived at Earth expecting to find the primitive species that had somehow defeated their fleets through luck or treachery. Instead, it found a solar system bristling with defenses and surrounded by ships from dozens of allied species who had come to protect the world that had saved them. The battle was over in less than an hour. The great destroyer was disabled by coordinated attacks from human and alien forces working together with perfect precision. Its crew surrendered when they realized they were facing not just one angry species, but an entire galaxy that had finally found someone willing to stand up to bullies and predators. Admiral Jake Morrison broadcast the final message that ended the age of galactic conquest forever. His words went out to every inhabited system in known space, carried by quantum communicators that ensured instant delivery across impossible distances. This is Admiral Morrison of the Human Defense Force speaking to all species, peaceful and otherwise. Earth and her allies will respond to any act of unprovoked aggression anywhere in the galaxy. The age of conquest is over. The age of protection has begun. 2 years later, Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Terra Nova and watched as children from 12 different species played together in the ship's recreation area. The most lethal species in the galaxy had revealed their true nature not as conquerors, but as guardians who would travel to any star system to ensure that no world would ever face extinction alone again.